So yes, here is the second installment of the workplace mobbing. So for this, I'll entitle this, the perpetrators will create situations to set you up to further their lies. So it's perpetrators will create situations to set you up to further their lies about you. So I'll give you an example. This actually happened at the workplace today. There is and I use loosely, a colleague who was assigned to me by the manager. This colleague apparently has over 25 years of experience and, is very knowledgeable about the field. What I know of this colleague is also a gossip. However, I know that now. I didn't know that slightly before. So this so-called colleague, who is supposed to be my mentor, I went with this person to different appointments. As per my job, I still don't really understand as to why I've been assigned this mentor, because I didn't really learn anything from her. But I thought that she was one of the more rational colleagues. So I spoke my truth of what was going on at the workplace. I've informed her that I'm undergoing workplace harassment. I told her the two people that were orchestrating it and the entourage that had followed suit. And to be expected, what did I find out today? She ended up gossiping to the very people that I told her I had concerns about regarding workplace racism. Yes, folks, she's a coward. If she's listening, I would like her to know she's a coward. And a devious coward at that. But I digress. This is about me, not about her. So what happened was, just slightly prior to that, a few days ago, she had contacted me and asked me to come to where she was sitting. Now, where she sits is the very area where the two ringleaders, the perpetrators, sit, as well as the entourage. That's where they like to collect and gossip and have their powwows. So she asked me to meet her there, and I did. And she made sure to say in a reasonably loud voice that there was a client that had some concerns about my work and that she had sent it off to the supervisor. Now, little did she know that I had already gone to the supervisor and informed the supervisor of what occurred, and that I had followed protocol. So little did she know that I had already done this. And I informed her in front of the very group that was harassing me. So this was pretty much an ambush. I perceive this as an ambush. So, in addition to that, she then started illustrating examples to me of how the situation would have been rectified. I had already rectified the situation because I already followed protocol as to what would have been done in order to appease the client. So I had already done that. I'm not going to go into the situation as to with the client. The client was confused, and I went and clarified the information with the client. But nonetheless, I did my protocol. So I did all the stuff that I was supposed to do. The supervisor agreed I did all the things that I needed to do, and she agreed that I also did all the things I needed to do. But she felt that she needed to illustrate an example. Why? Because the workplace harassers were present along with the entourage. Again, this was an ambush. So then she went and she said, oh, well, for example, if, perpetrator A, she actually said the person's name, one of the ringleaders who's the head perpetrator, if perpetrator A were to do such and such, of which I had politely stopped her and said, again, you've confirmed that I followed protocol. I know I followed protocol, and I had already gone to the supervisor regarding this, and she confirmed that I followed protocol. So I'm not quite sure why we're continuing this discussion. So we ended the conversation, and I still wasn't feeling quite right about it because I knew what she was doing. But her story was that, she was just relaying a message to me. So I called her the next day, and I said, mentor, I'll just call her mentor because it's loosely a mentor. She's barely one. But I told her, mentor, I felt really uncomfortable having this discussion in the venue where it was held, because you're aware that the two perpetrators and their entourage were there. So I'm not quite concerned as to why I was asked to come there. However, I would prefer to have it in a more private venue next time. What I was told by her was, oh, well, if you didn't like it, you should have just told me at the time. And I said, well, I'm letting you know now. I would prefer to have it in a more private venue. I set my boundaries. Now, in this gossip that she relayed to the perpetrators of what I had disclosed to her prior to knowing what she was all about, that she's a coward, I wouldn't have thought that she would have done something like that. But now that when I walked by and I heard, I saw, she is what she is. She is what she is. She's depraved. She's a depraved negativity addict. And so cowardly, she had to go save her hind by throwing me under the bus, to join their team so she's not targeted next. But she claims that she doesn't want to be a part of it, and yet she's adding fuel to it. So, with this being said now, she had told me, that to next time just let her know if I feel uncomfortable about discussing a subject matter. And then she went to go and tell the manager that I was upset. Now, I find this term upset really peculiar, because at no time did she ever ask me what my feelings were. At no time did she ask. Not that she cared, but at no time she asked. So I had made sure when speaking with the supervisor, when the supervisor informed me about it, I made sure to inform the supervisor that, I would have much rather this mentor ask me as opposed to assume, because if anything, I was more concerned than upset as to what had occurred. I mean, if she wanted to confirm if I was upset, then, she should have asked me what my feelings were, and clearly she did not. So, to clarify, I was concerned, and next time I would appreciate if she asks me how I felt. But this isn't all. This is the setup. So, the way they set you up with this example is they call you to ambush you, and then you set down your boundary saying this is not going to be appropriate. or however you choose to word it, but it's in a professional manner. And then they turn around and accuse you of being rude to them. Now, logic would dictate, if you're calling me in to set me up for an ambush, that's more than just rude. That's evil. But because I said I did not appreciate what she had done, which was ambush me, she accused me of being rude, and has her course of judgment, she decides to disclose what I've disclosed to her as punishment. That really, really tells me about the type of creatures I work with. So that's one way of being set up. Other ways that you could be set up is you're working away, you're doing what you need to do, and they come up and start a conversation. But you see, they already know what questions that they're going to ask you to steer the conversation a certain way, so that a bystander who's listening, like they'll set the prime. They'll prime the bystander. So they'll give them a whole bunch of innuendos and fabrications, and then they already have a list of questions they're going to be asking you to try and justify those innuendos. So then they'll come up to you, they'll talk to you, ask you these questions, and then go back to the bystander and say, see, this is what's happening. And the bystander, rather than fact check as to whether or not this is indeed happening, goes along with them. They just choose to go along with them. It's really disgusting. It's really, really disgusting and disturbing. I'm just looking at better alternatives of getting out of this garbage heap. In fact, a garbage heap might be healthier than this diseased environment, because you got people who enjoy engaging in this disease by abusing others. It's they like spreading the disease. They don't spread productivity. They don't spread joy. They spread disease. So yes, in my next video, I'm going to talk to you about stalking. In this case, in terms of coping mechanisms, just to highlight, some of the coping mechanisms that will help is try to tune them out as much as possible. Or you can document. I would actually recommend that you document more than tune them out. But act as if it doesn't faze you. Mind you, it's going to keep intensifying. That's what they do. They're going to keep intensifying this abuse towards you. Keep documenting, keep doing your work, keep doing what you have to do. Wishing you strength. And I will do my next video on stalking, because they do stalk you. So stay tuned for that.